Hey everyone, it's Floatie, and if you didn't know, I built an airport and the speed builds are already out, but I want to make this quick video so that I could show you my favorite build hacks as well as show the decal codes that I used for this build. So if you're planning your own airport build, this video would be packed with a lot of useful tricks. And yeah, so let's start. So I think we should first start on our first stop, which is the security scanners. These are actually really fun and really easy to make. So these security scanners are two things. It's the one where you scan your person as well as the one where you scan your luggage. So let's move them to an empty space in the plot. If you haven't realized, I deleted another plane. Since there was two planes, I just deleted one. So we have an empty spot over here. But I won't be doing like a full-on tutorial on how to build this since it's mostly basic shapes, and if you want a more in-depth like tutorial, this is in the speed builds. But as you can see, it's pretty much just a beveled cube with some cubes on top. Then I just added another cube for where the items would go through, some lights, a structural for detail, as well as this thing, which is they call this a wedge with structurals and these special food counter racks, since it adds detail but with minimal plot data, and you just transform that by making it upright like this. Then you could use large grid. I don't recommend smaller grid since it might be a bit crooked. Then you just use a smaller grid to transform it in like that. So yeah, and you do that on the other side, which is pretty simple. Next is the metal detectors for the persons, which is also really easy. So you first start off with your platform. It's just a basic shape or a cube that's resized to be really small. Then you add another basic shape up top, so you have like something to put your head through. A thing I did was base it off on this cabinet, which is the fridge cabinets, that's why it's a similar size to that, but it's a bit smaller since the airport is smaller. After that, I added some lights as well as this detail, which is actually a plank. So you first place a horizontal plank, then this is placed like this normally, then you just make it upright how you did on this thing over here. Then you just place it off the wall, add your detail. So I added some trim, also added some light so that it looks like you're actually being scanned. Actual metal detectors don't have this, but I wanted it to have like a feel that it's a bit older than it actually is. Then just do that on the other side, then you're pretty much done with your metal detectors. I really like how the light adds that sort of security feeling on this build. And also here, I added some counters. The commercial counters really act as a great base for this metal detector. You could also use this if you want your metal detector, since versions have the underneath to be hollow. So you can do that, and I use like plastic containers resized to be really short as the trays, and also added the school lunch trays or the plastic trays as our other trays for other carry-ons. But yeah, that's pretty much it for metal detectors. Next would be conveyor belts, which would look like just an easy way or just a simple thing that you could use structurals for. But I actually used a really cool technique or like a really cool trick just to make it cheaper and a lot easier. So again, we used the thing we did with the metal detectors for this part, which is the same thing that we used here. But what I like is this thing, the conveyor belt, which might look like a lot of basic shapes, but it's actually, where is it? It's just these wooden pallets resized to be skinnier. See, it's the same thing. You just resize it to fit the sandbox just so that it's smaller. You could resize it to any shape or any size you want. Just don't make it too small. Imagine how big your luggage would be, and it should fit that comfortably. And I decided to make it like 1 block wide, and I think that's a good size for it. And I made it thinner so that like the gaps between are like much more realistic. And yeah, it looks like it's a lot of work, but it's actually just these two items. And I use the sandbox. You could use basic shapes if you want. And I placed the carpet since if you have just the sandbox, the sand pokes through and you can't recolor that. So that's why I had that. So yeah, that's pretty simple. It's really simple idea. And if you want to see, I used it. Probably the best application is on this part, which I used like a circle technique by rotating objects just so that it could curve around. But now that we're here, let's move on to our next build hack, which is the luggages. This is actually really simple. I really like how it looks. I made it laying down since I figured that most of my luggages would be laying down on the conveyor belts, but you can easily transform them upright just like the ones here. If you see, they're normally laying down. You just use transform on them since they're basic shapes. It could be a lot more detailed. There's actually two versions of these. There's the one with the lines and one that's a lot simpler with less basic shapes. I was checking earlier on how much they are. Actually, these rods aren't that expensive. And my biggest tip for you guys is to use the beveled or corrugated metal textures. They really look good as a luggage. This isn't the best example for this color. But yeah. What else? What should I say? Yeah, it's not that hard. It's pretty simple. It's just a lot of basic shapes. Let's delete it and deconstruct it. So if you see, you'll just start off with your basic shape. You decide on how big your luggage to be. You add your handle and like some details you want for your what do you call this? Your luggage. You add like lines so that it looks more robust. You add your zipper, which is just another basic shape. This is just like a larger basic shape that could like poke out through your base, your smaller or your luggage, and you just add more basic shapes for the wheels. So these are just like stacked horizontal cylinders. You'll just transform them down. That's pretty much how I did it. You could use beams. They would be a lot cheaper, but since you're gonna be seeing these wheels a lot, I figured this would be a better solution. But if most of your luggage would be upright, you could probably get away with just using a rod. But that's it for the luggage. Really like having this empty spot to show my build hacks. Since this plane is clonable, it's not really hard for me to do that. But since we're at the plane, this is one of also my favorite build hacks on this part. And it's not really one that I planned, so really liked how it turned out. So this is our, they call this, our luggage carts vehicle thing. And we have a ramp for it to go up the plane. And we also have the containers for the luggage itself. The thing I made it so that everything's on this one plank. Everything from this side is on this one plank, and it looks really cool. And if you use this, which I'll show you guys, okay, we're here. Well, we could use this. If you use this, everything placed on it will get removed, which in the perfect world, I want it to be attached while I'm using this. So how to make them? It's pretty simple. It's like 3 things. So the cart, it's pretty much just the vehicle that I used. So we have, where is it? This lawnmower. We just put that, and I used some lights. I can't select it. So I used like basic shapes or planks. Or I can't select the lights. But this is a light source. Everything's on it, actually. So I put a plank again. There's another plank here with a light source and a transparent sphere. And on this part, I also made this thing. So what this thing is that it's attached to the plane. And this is just a bunch of beams and basic shape. So I started off with the same base as this, which is just a basic shape with structurals and wheels. It's pretty simple to make, and I just added a basic shape going through this, which this part is also just two basic shapes. I'll show it later. Added some railings so that the luggage won't fall off, and added like a support structure underneath. This is just random stuff. Then also I added the luggage after. So we have like, it looks like luggage is going through the plane. And this thing is actually just basic shapes. These are concave basic shapes. Pretty simple. You just have that. Let's move on. So this part, I started off with the base again, added my luggage, as well as this transparent shape so I could place this mesh. These are these mesh memo boards, but I resized them to be as big as possible, and I used that to have like a sort of protection so the luggage won't fall off as I'm riding this. But I did that on the other side and added an enclosure with more basic shapes and added some trim, some detail, added lights, and like, yeah, that's pretty much it. It's really simple to do. Let's move on to my next favorite part, which is the screen. So we have two types of screens. We have our computers and our TVs. So a thing about Bloxburg is that computers and TVs are one of the more expensive and laggy objects in the game. Just because they have a lot of screens that they need to load, it causes a lot of lag and performance issues if you have a lot of them open at a time. But a great workaround in this is not to use them, but instead use paintings. So these are actually paintings. This is also what do you call this? Those picture frames, these ones. So you just resize them up so that it's big for a computer screen. I placed it on a pink box, resized, and for the laptop, I used a vent. These vents. This floor. Oh no, not this one. This one, the pattern floor vents. Looks like it's an easy way to have a keyboard. And for this, I used a bolster. I'll show that pillow. It's this cylindrical pillows. I chose these because pillows are a lot cheaper than basic shapes. It's like a thing you should know. So if you have something that uses, where is it? Beveled cylinders, they're very similar to the bolsters, but these bolsters have their own limits. This is the smallest this beveled thing can go, this beveled cylinder can go, and this is the smallest the bolster can go. But if you could check their price, this is 533 and this is 126. So imagine what you would choose if you want to make a lot of computers. So this is the better option. And look, this is 450. And let's have the computers that we have normally. This is 5,000 and this is a tenth of the price, and it doesn't look bad at all. And for the TVs, it's the same thing, but this is 512, and the cheapest TV we have is 500, I think. So it's 220, but it's this TV. And the smallest screen TV we have is this, which is already 560. But this is still cheaper and a lot less laggier. This is just a painting with a bunch of structurals. There's like structurals here. This is a bunch of structurals on it. And the thing I wanted to show you guys is that the back of it has a structural as well. Since normally it would look like this, and I think it's a bit distracting that the back is like pitch black. So I added like a vertical plank. This is just a vertical plank. You could resize them to be really big. I think this is the largest you could go, and could make them as long as possible. So that's like a really easy solution for that. And I just added some lights underneath. And yeah, I placed my decals over here. Decals again the codes would be at the end. So what else? Oh, self check-in. Really looks good as a part of the airport, but it's not really a focal point that I'd really like to showcase. But it's still a build hack that I made on this plane. Still, I wanted to show it. And now that we're here, let's move on to my favorite part of building. We usually keep it at the end, but I really like how I made these plants. At first, I was gonna resort to decal plants. I used some decal plants. I made these decals. These are like a bush decals that you could use as trees. See? But the thing I want to show you guys is this palm plant, which is really easy. The thing you need is large grid and advanced placement. So let's place it here. So this is just a pillar. Let's get the pillar. So we'll start off with this pillar. Then we'll have palm plants. We have the palm plants here. I think I resized them to be bigger. Yeah, I resized them to be bigger. And if you place the second one, you're gonna rotate them so that it's not like overlapping. And you could change this to like a darker color like this so that there's more depth on the plant. After that, I used this tall grass. I made it as tall as possible and changed the texture instead to be cobblestone, because cobblestone has like a brown undertone that would work well on our base, which is this large flower pot, to look like a really cool palm plant. I have like a reference here. This is not the exact reference. I can't find the reference I was looking for, but that's how this palm plant turned out, and I was really happy with the design. So I used it all throughout the build, especially on the lower part, since this plant is actually really tall as well. Let me show you. This is the normal tree that we have, the rough tree, and it's smaller than that, but I really like, it's still big compared to like if you placed it on the bottom. It still adds some height, and it looks really good in this airport as well, since most of the airports are also like a bit more tropical. But yeah, see, it adds like a really good divider as well, and adds really great backdrops for our signages. That's most of the like actual build hacks that I made, but there's still some that I really like. One of those are using stage lifts as elevators. This is elevators are really expensive. The cheapest one we have is 30,000, and these lifts are 6,000. So it's like 20% of the price, but we don't have like the interiors and stuff like that. But still, you won't like reach 30k making an exterior for your lift. The only limitation that you have is that you're limited to one floor. Like you can only do 2 floors since the lift only goes up by one floor. But what I really like is that you could switch your entrance and exit. So if you look at this elevator, the entrance is over here, but you're gonna exit out through another side. But you can't do that with normal elevators since their entrances are only on one side. So that's really cool. And probably what I really like also is this jet bridge. It turned out really well. I wasn't like expecting it to go super well, especially since I'm building too close to a plane. But I'm really happy with how this turned out. I think you could still transform this to go further out like that. Looks like you're rolling it out. You could like add more segments if your airport is larger than mine. But yeah, I think that's about it. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. I don't know if it's like necessary for me to do this, but I mostly wanted to do this so that I have something to show you guys with the decal codes as well. But that's it for me. You're good if you want the decal codes, stay in. But yeah, goodbye.